Welcome everyone. Welcome to the webinar PROFINET Technology Walkthrough conducted by Utthunga, powered by Indian Profibus Profinet Association. I am Samir Sahu. I take care of marketing at Utthunga along with my teammates. I am your moderator for the day. This webinar is for 60 minutes, and to maintain the flow of the webinar, questions and answers will be addressed during the end of the presentations. As a giveaway, presentation and the link of the recorded webinar will be sent to you after the webinar. Next slide, please. Angadh, you there? Yeah. Thank you, Angadh. To start with, I will give you a quick overview of Utthunga. We are an industrial software and hardware services company partnering closely with the industrial world to provide them with software and services and solutions. With our 500 plus engineers, we are a 13-year-old company. We provide services in application development, embedded development, IIoT, and verification and validation. Our services are targeted to OEMs and end industries in process, factory, and power domains. Next slide, please. Thank you. Utthunga has foundations and strength in the field of industrial connectivity, and we are partnered with various industrial and technological consortiums like Profibus and Profinet International, Fieldcom Group, EtherCAT, OPC Foundation, FTT Group, ODBA, and many more. Some of our clients are Siemens, Emerson, Schneider Electric, Honeywell, ABB, and many more. Thank you. Next slide. At Utthunga, we provide end-to-end solutions for digital transformation. Our dedicated teams provide process design, engineering, and consultation services, automation engineering services, DCS, PLC, SCADA, HMI engineering. We also provide erection and commissioning services. We have our own IoT solutions and also provide turnkey project management services. Next slide, please. From here, I would request Angadh to start the presentation. Angadh Lambert is Profibus and Profinet expert at Utthunga. Angadh, please.
Very good evening, everyone. So without any delay, we will go to today's discussion part. So I'll be mainly having a 3-section today. First section, we will be looking into the basics of PROFINET technology and what is Profibus, Profinet International, and how it works. And in coming to the second section, we will look into the GSD, how integration we are doing. And in the third section, we will look into the quality parameters. What are the critical quality parameters in Profinet and what solution we are providing. And as the most interesting part is the final one, introduction to Dsm. What is Dsm? Everyone will be hearing news about Dsm. What is Dsm? So let's move. So Profibus and Profinet is Siemens proprietary protocol, and it occupies about 1,400 members, and we have you can see more than 63 Profibus and Profinet competence centers are there, and Utthunga is one of the Profibus and Profinet competence center, and 32 test laboratories and 32 training centers and 11 test laboratories are available, and you can see RPAs in India also. One RPA is there. So still you can see Profinet is at the top of the market. So these are some of the regions where Profinet are associated and were actually end users and as well as the solution providers are combined together and support Profinet. So still at 2020 going on, we look at Profinet is at the market top. 34 million nodes have been installed. It been started on 2005, and you can see after 15 years also it is at the top of the market. Why? What is the difference, and what makes it more versatile and more powerful in the market? We will look into the next slides and understand. So these are the few protocols available in the market. So coming into the top, you can see some of the field buses, HART, wireless HART, field bus, foundation field bus, Profibus, Modbus, CAN bus. These are some of the field bus protocols. And coming to the Ethernet layer protocols, you can see Profinet, Ethernet IP, Ethernet power link. I just want to introduce you. These are some of the protocols available in the market. Even though right now we can see Profinet has installed almost 34 million nodes. So it is almost at the top of the market. Why? So we will just go through the benefits. What are the brief benefits of Profinet? Ease of use. For the plant manufacturer or a automation solution provider, it is very easy to integrate or commission Profinet and very cost effective also. And coming to the topology part, network topology, you can go to ring, star, line topology, redundant topology as well. And integrated diagnostics. In Profinet devices, you can see they have integrated diagnostic facility that will give alarm to your PLC itself if there is any errors in the cyclic communication mode. And most of you are aware of ProfiSafe. ProfiSafe is the integrated safety mode, which can be used in the intrinsic safe area if you needed to bust an alarm or buffer an alarm. So main advantage for this ProfiSafe module is communication, and the safety is getting activated in the same cable itself. And the availability. Coming to the availability, since the Profinet standard is completely Ethernet compatible, you can go for a ring topology, redundant ring topology. So you can make a lot of redundancy in the network, and not much cost effective also, not much cost consuming also. So availability is more in the architecture layer. Scalable real time. So if you consider Profinet, we can go up to 1 millisecond update rate itself. So it is almost up to the scalable real time itself. And expanded system architecture. So in the conventional method, earlier it was one controller talking to many nodes. But coming to the Profinet, you can see many controllers talking to many nodes in the single architecture itself. So they have broken the conventional method and moved to a new strategy of talking between machines itself, between controllers itself. And everything on one cable. Since technology is based on Ethernet, you can see in the right side, we can take data to MES and ERP layer very easily. That's why since right now in India, if you see, is getting a lot of push in the market. So whoever has Profinet technology, is very easy for the solution provider to take the data to the ERP MES layer. Otherwise, we have to use a lot of couplers or communication interfaces cards as well. And if you see Profinet, we have a energy optimization profile. So every module or every drive, if you are adding up, you can put a profile, energy optimization profile. In this profile, you can integrate to your IoT platform, and you can understand what is the energy consumed and what is the energy loss as well. We can calculate from these profiles. These are the brief benefits what is analyzed. So we will go to the basics. What is Profinet? Profinet is process field network. If you compare Profibus is process field binary unit system. That is a bus topology. Coming to the Profinet, it is a Ethernet topology. That is why it is process field network. So it works in a provider-consumer model, not in a master-slave model. It works as a provider-consumer model. And technology behind is TCP/IP, same Ethernet technology itself. But if you look at the OSO-ISA model, the layers are compressed in such a way that we need to get the real-time communication. And topology, if you look at the topology, is already explained: star, tree, line, ring. Any topology is possible, and number of nodes that can be connected to a Profinet is dependent on the update rate. For example, if you have a lot of devices in the network, the device connectivity or number of device connectivity depends on the update rate of each devices. Update rate means if one node has to update the status or update the data packets to the controller. So that is the update rate. For example, I am setting a 2 millisecond update rate for my devices. So then regularly at 2 millisecond update rate, my device has to respond. So this number of nodes depend on the update rate. And if you see the communication interface here, it is a full duplex technology. Why it is full duplex? What is full duplex? I'll just explain what is full duplex. Full duplex means if I am talking and I am listening, so I have a ability to talk and listen at same time. If I have only ability to talk, then it is a half duplex. I cannot hear, then it is half duplex. If I can talk and listen at same time, then it is full duplex. That is 4-wire. Here 4-wire communication is the 2-wire for transmission, 2-wire for receiving. So that's why we are attaining a 100 Mbps speed as well. And two key points I wanted to discuss is two key points for Profinet is auto negotiation and auto crossover. What is auto negotiation? Auto negotiation is if you, for example, if you are using a Profinet standard cable here, unfortunately due to the robotic movements or some hazards, your cable got cut partially. Then one of your cable or one of your in the 4 wires, one of your cable got cut. Then what will happen? Your Profinet protocol will automatically analyze and go for a 50% reduction of your speed. That is auto negotiation. But in case of Profibus or any bus protocol, if you see cable is cut, then communication is down. Your system will go for intermittent failures or entire shutdown. But in case of Profinet, if partially it is cut or partially it is damaged, Profinet will try to work in a compatible way. That is auto negotiation. Then auto crossover. Auto crossover is, if you see here, Profinet 4 wires have 4 color. So this 4 color has to be signed properly to the connectors. If I am not signing properly, what will happen? Profinet protocol will automatically check it and communicate. That is auto crossover. So these are two profiles available in Profinet. So looking into the connector standards. So when we visit the plants, a lot of plants in India or in India itself, a lot of plants are using Ethernet cables, but it is not recommended at all. We are recommending to use industrial standard connectors. Why industrial standard connectors are mandatory? Because if you see the metal contact here, the Profinet cable will be having a shield. In the last slide, you have seen some shield, right? The shield has to touch properly and ground the reflections and EMI effects in the entire architecture, in the entire line. So if we put these type of cables, intermittent failures may come in your network. So if you look at the color codes, yellow, orange, white, blue, each color code has a particular port in RJ45 connectors. You have to connect properly for a better performance. So coming to the device types. What are the device types in Profinet? If you look at the architecture here, controller, devices, and your supervisor. Controller is PLC, who is taking the complete program and running the entire line or entire automation layer. And field devices use your Profinet nodes or Profinet IO modules. And coming to the supervisor may be your HMI or your semantic PG or your programming device, or if you are using any diagnostic products also, that will be also a supervisor. So these three devices are particularly available in the Profinet architecture. So we will just go to a small topology here, a network topology. You can see a network topology here. Please guess what all topology is available in this architecture. I will just give you one 5 seconds or 6 seconds. You just look into this architecture and please guess the topology. Okay, we'll move to the answers. Yeah, you can see here complete topologies are available in this architecture. Ring, you can see ring topology is available, star is available, tree topology is available, even wireless is available, and line is also available. This is, I just made it because I wanted to share to you how the topology looks and which are the topologies available in Profinet. So once more I can say ring topology. Here you can see that this is the ring topology, and wireless, star, tree. So coming to the performance classes. So in Profinet, there are 3 performance classes: UDP/IP, real-time, and IRT. UDP/IP is user datagram protocol, which mainly during the, if you are programming devices, if you are using a programming devices, then your communication to the controller and nodes get happen through the UDP/IP. It is purely dependent on the TCP/IP communication. So and also speed is not mandatory. 100 millisecond maximum you can go up to. And coming to the real-time communication, real-time communication is where the complete program runs, and if you see, you will get a 1 millisecond update rate as well. The 100 Mbps speed goes in the real-time communication. And asynchronous real-time. Asynchronous real-time is, for example, if you have a particular robots that has to be run in a less than 1 millisecond, then there is a special profile called IRT. You need to enable that. Then your data packets transferring to the devices will be having a special bandwidth, and your devices will communicate at a particular update rate or particular clock what we have set. So that are the 3 profiles: UDP/IP, RT, IRT. So we'll go to the synchronization. How synchronization works in the Profinet. So as I just explained, if you have some devices that has to be worked in a critical, if you have multiple devices for a assembly line, if you have multiple robots that has to work at a particular second, then you can assign in Profinet controller a master clock that can give a particular clock to every Profinet nodes, and these nodes will update at particular second, and you can go up to 250 microsecond to 31.25 microsecond. That is a very scalable real time itself. Then cyclic data exchange. Here already I explained what is cyclic data exchange. Here you can see the architecture. This is the controller and Profinet devices. You can see I have set each devices, each update rate. I have set for a drive here 1 millisecond, and the IO devices I have set 2 millisecond, and one of the IO device I have set 4 millisecond. And you can see every 1 millisecond drive updates the status or updates the data, and every 2 millisecond this IO module updates the data, while the third IO module updates every 4 millisecond. So that is cyclic communication. So cyclic communication mainly uses non-TCP/IP communication, skipping the TCP/IP layer, and it will directly go to the RT communication and reach the Profinet profile. It will skip the TCP/IP, UDP/IP layers, and it will directly go to the real-time communication. So in cyclic communication, these auto crossover and auto negotiation profiles are available. So that will give advantage for your automation production lines. So coming to the cyclic data exchange, where cyclic data exchange is used. So in cyclic data exchange, mainly it uses IT services via TCP/IP because bandwidth is more. If you consider HMI will be showcasing visualization, a lot of visualization and alarms, as well as your complete process may be shown by the HMI. So if a HMI need to communicate, a lot of bandwidth is required. So it is not communicating in the RT layer. it will be communicating in the UDP IP layer. And also you can see any alarms or diagnostic alarms or maintenance alarms. This will be raised through the acyclic mode. So coming to the in-depth inbuilt network diagnostic facility in Profinet, you can see this is one of small architecture here. So how Profinet is capable of understanding their architecture and giving the integrated network diagnostic facility. You can see these are the IT protocols available in Profinet. SNMP is a simple network monitoring protocol, and LLDP is the link layer discovery protocol. What LLDP does is LLDP detects the neighborhood. For example, in this architecture, LLDP detects the complete neighborhood devices. And for example, if I'm removing this device or removing the architecture, then immediately, if you are using a managed switch and intelligent switch, Profinet switch available in the market, then you can get a notification in the controller, your architecture has changed or some error is there. So this kind of intelligent network diagnostic facility is enabled in Profinet protocol. But in case of most of the industries, no one is using this kind of application profiles. We need to make them understand and educate them to use kind of managed switches and standard Profinet cables. And if you look at the connectors, Profinet standard connectors also, we need to explain them to use it. Then only you will get a complete package. So if you look at the one case scenario here, this is one small architecture. For example, if one of your device got failed, that device got actually expired or repair device is not working, then one key advantage for Profinet is you can replace a same device and start communicating without a help of your configuration tool. You can just plug and play. That is also a key advantage. But for this everything, you have to use a managed switch, because managed switch has the intelligence to understand the entire neighborhood, and it will give special notifications and understanding of your architecture. And even you will get the alarms in the controller. So this is a small architecture of Profinet. You can see still Profinet is in the market. Why? Because you can see here Profibus is also integrated. And if you want to integrate hard, or if you want to integrate any other protocol, we have available proxies and couplers. So with this, easily you can integrate Profinet into your existing architecture. So in India, if you see, Profibus is getting aged, and more major customers and major end users are looking for a transition of Profinet, but they don't want to do it completely. They want to start from the drive layer. So they can use some couplers or proxies and integrate Profibus gradually. Like one section they can integrate, and gradually they can completely change into Profinet. So that's why it is very cost effective and flexible protocol available in the market, and very user friendly. So coming to our second topic, GSD. Earlier you can see, before GSD was in place, we were actually struggling to upload the complete parameters. If you look at the vendor ID or device type, or if you want to check the device parameters, this individually we have to upload it. But when GSD came, GSD is nothing, general station description. When GSD came into the place, the integration of devices is quite easy. Like that, it is a software which will be provided by the supplier, and this has to be integrated with your semantic PG, or if you are using a TI portal or any software, then you have to integrate it. Then your device will directly start communicating with your controller. So how it is using in Profinet, we use GSD ML. So why it is? Because they are using XML format, while comparing Profibus, they are using ASCII format in the GSD. So what GSD provides is complete information about a module, even diagnostic alarms and device identification, and even you will get the vendor ID and supplier information. This kind of critical information, everything GSD will provide. So right now it is quite easy for an integrator to integrate using GSD. Here you can see it is a image we have shown in Semantic Manager how to install GSD file of a particular device. For example, if you are integrating a new Emerson flow meter, then what we have to do, you have to go to the Emerson website, and check the specific model number and download the GSD and upload the GSD here. Then directly connect the control system, your PLC, to the Emerson flow meter. Then you can start communicating after installing the GSD file. So GSD had made a lot of easy in the way, like automation has made a lot of easy. Automation has become easy after implementing GSD came into the network. So that is about our second section. Then we are moving to a third section right now. What are the quality parameters needed to be monitored and as well as checked and is leaking in the network? If you see Profibus, major quality issues are from physical layer. Comparing Profinet major issues are from logical layer. And physical issues are very rare because you are using a similar Ethernet cable, and cable standards are quite good, and you are using a 4-wire cable as well. So cable issues are pretty low in Profinet, but logical issues are more. We will look into what are the logical issues in Profinet protocol. So one of the major logical issue in the Profinet is telegram jitter. What is jitter? When Profinet communication actually is based on a maintaining the set update rate. So for example, if you have a Profinet device, here one example is shown, and I have set a Profinet update rate for 4 milliseconds. Then your device is not updating in 4 milliseconds and it is updating in 6 milliseconds. Then 2 milliseconds is the delay in the network. That is the jitter. Jitter is a delay in the network. So what we have suggested along with Indazole is 50% is the maximum we can go in a Profinet architecture jitter percentage. So jitter has to be, we can calculate jitter automatic with some calculations also, and understand whether there is any delay in the network. That I will come later, how to monitor jitter. So this is the one key quality parameter that we need to monitor. Then telegram gap. Telegram gap in Profinet means absence of your data packet or absence of your update time. During the update time, the data packet is not coming as planned. Your data packets is not coming to the controller. This is mainly actually due to the firmware issues. If you see in the Profinet, if you are not updating the firmware regularly, then it's also happens a communication issue in the network. So you have to update your firmwares of the Profinet devices, then your communication will be healthy. Then comes to the error telegram. So error telegrams is the faulty telegrams. Like if you see, there are a lot of bit errors and byte errors in the network, like checksum errors or parity error. So this is mainly caused due to the improper architecture, or if your device is pretty old, this may lead to error telegrams in the network. So error telegrams are not at all we are not allowing error telegram. We need to check that if error telegrams are there, you need to take proper actions and maintain the architecture. So net load ratio. Load ratio is one of the see one of the other key logical parameter. If you when we visit a lot of plants, when we see the architecture, if you see a lot of HMIs or the CCTVs there in the Profinet architecture. So Profinet architecture is a closed architecture. There should not be any other protocol interfering Profinet protocol. So for example, if you are interfering a small cable from HMI to a Profinet switch, what will happen? Your HMI data packets will be more than 1000. But coming to Profinet data packet, it is very small. It is like 68 to 72. That's why you are getting a 100 Mbps speed. But when Ethernet packets comes in between or HMI packets comes in between, what will happen? A lot of delay will come in the network. So what we recommend is for 100 Profinet packets, there should be only one other protocol packet at a particular time. For 100 Profinet packets, there should be only one other protocol packet at particular time or particular instance. If it is going below that, then there is a delay in the network. You have to find out where is the leakage in your architecture. Then coming to the net load. So already PI has a standard for the net load. Net load should not be greater than 20% in your Profinet architecture. If you consider a normal architecture, if you are integrating high bandwidth devices means HMI, or if you having a CCTV, these are high bandwidth devices. So if you are not planning your architecture properly, then what will happen? Load will increase and your devices will go for intermittent tripping. So this is one of the physical standards that we have to maintain in Profinet. So we have just now finished about the logical parameters and quality details. This is one of the physical parameter we need to keenly look into while designing. So in Profinet standard, it is mentioned clearly, if you are connecting serial, you can connect maximum of 7 devices for a 1 millisecond update rate. So when I visited a lot of plants, if you see in the plant part, they will not go for a 32 or 64. They will directly go for 2 to 8 milliseconds. Then you have to consider only 40 devices in serial. If you are exceeding 14, what will happen? Then jitter will increase in the network. If you are exceeding 7 for a 1 millisecond update rate, then what will happen? Your devices may go for a intermittent tripping or delay in the network. These are the standards you have to follow during designing the architecture. That's why we mentioned in Profinet, logical issues are 90%, because your designing of the architecture is not perfect. If designing is not perfect, what will happen? After 1 year, your system will go for intermittent tripping. For a 24 hours running plan, if you consider a 5 to 10 minutes shutdown, that is a huge loss. So these can be avoided by a proper planning in the architecture layer. So these are the standards you have to maintain while planning the architecture. So this is the second exercise. Just you can see the architecture here, right? So please find the errors in this architecture. What are the evident errors in this architecture? So right now we studied about logical parameters, physical parameters. What are the logical parameters? How logical parameters are getting affected? How load is getting affected? We just studied about this. Just for engaging, please find out what are the errors in this architecture. I hope you have looked into that. Then we will go to the answer part. See, here you can see one CCTV is installed. As I mentioned, CCTV is having a higher bandwidth, and you can see HMI also installed. But HMI is a mandatory in most of the plants, so we cannot avoid HMI. But in the rectified architecture, you can see CCTV is avoided. CCTV is not at all coming in your Profinet architecture. But HMI, if you want to connect, we recommend to connect it in a shorter path to the controller. So it is very near to the controller. If you consider here, what will happen, this lot of bandwidth is coming up for receiving and transmitting. This will reduce and interfere your Profinet packets. But here you can see the shorter path. So controller and HMI communication will be very easy, and there will be no much load issues in the network. So we will just sneak into the standards right now. What we studied, what are the standards that need to be maintained in Profinet architecture while commissioning? 100-meter distance between Profinet devices, shielding in M12 and RJ45 connectors, and industrial RJ45 connectors has to be used, and color coding in M12 connectors. If you see in RJ45 connectors, they have a particular color coding available. But if you look at the M12 connectors, color coding is available, but it is quite difficult to identify. So usually in plants, what they do is they will not check the color code and integrate it, but it may cause in the leakages and intermittent failures. So we recommend to do the color coding shielding as standard. And we recommend certified Profinet switches. As mentioned, switches is the heart of the Profinet network. So switches is mandatory. That switches has to be intelligent. Then only you will get the complete package of Profinet. If you use the half package of Profinet, then there is no advantage for the end user. You have to use managed switches or intelligent switches in the network to get the complete information, like network diagnostic information, or if you want to get the topology, then managed switches are mandatory. Then if you look at the voltage cables should be maximum far as possible, at least 30 to 40 centimeter away, or if you cannot put it away, then you must shield it properly. Shield means extra outer layer shielding has to be there for Profinet cables to avoid EMI effects. And as a last case, if you are having a lot of EMI effects, electromagnetic interferences in your plant, don't use Profinet cables. Go for a fiber optic cables conversion and reduce the interferences effects. These are the standards you have to maintain during commissioning. So before commissioning, what is we needed? We needed planning, right? As I mentioned, planning is the key point for Profinet protocol. So Samir, can you put the poll?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So we will just need to understand whether you are using a planning software or how we are planning the architecture. That's why I wanted to do a poll here. So planning has to be there in Profinet architecture. Samir, you are there?
Yeah. Please
Okay.
provide your responses, please.
So just look into that. So are you planning manually, or if you are using a software to understand the architecture? That would be a better understanding for us for further going forward. So what is the poll rate, Samir?
It's 50-50%. 10 votes in manual software, 11
Okay.
votes. So people are still putting.
Okay.
Give them a second.
Yeah, sure.
We would request everyone to provide responses. We are closing the poll.
Okay. So what is the percentage, Samir?
56 software, 42 manually.
Yeah. So I think 40% people are still in manual. So manual is not at all recommended. We need to use some softwares to get your complete standards. I have mentioned some standards here like line depth or net load, or if you look at the update rate, these standards has to be maintained in designing your architecture. So we will go to the designing part. So we have a software, Profinet Plan, which designs your architecture. So what is the key advantage for Profinet plan is there? Is it actually gives you the load related issues and also line depth, and each if you can see each devices, Profinet devices, you can see the update rate and what is the line depth and what is the available ports in the Profinet devices. So for example, I am putting a switch here and I am only using 4 ports, then it will mention 4 ports are available. You can see here 4 ports are available. This kind of intelligence is in this type of softwares. You can use this type of softwares to get the complete architecture in a standard way, and you can take this as a PDF as well. So this is one of the sample architecture what we have developed. Here you can see we have calculated complete load in the switches. If you consider switches are the bridges in the network. So most of the loads occupied will be coming to the switches. So standard switches are recommended. So we can understand what is the load coming into your architecture completely. And each device's update rate, line depth, this kind of information we can get from the software. So after designing what you need, after designing you need to do an acceptance test, or you need to understand whether your network is running fine or not. So for example, if you are driving a car on the roadway, suddenly when the fuel is going out, then you will, in the dashboard, you can understand what is the fuel consumed or what is the remaining fuel, right? There is a notification for a running car, but for a running operation, what is the notification available? Prior warning. So that's why Profinet Inspector this is our permanent monitoring solution. So this is a tool used for actually acceptance certification and also permanently monitor the network, and it can be used for the commissioning activities as well. For example, after you design the plant and after you do the commissioning, you want to test whether your Profinet network is as per Profibus and Profinet guidelines. Then you can use this tool and take a 12 hours shot. Then you will get the report your network is good or bad. That is the intelligence available in Inspector. What Inspector measures is quality parameters. Right now we have discussed jitter, net load, load ratio, error telegram. These kind of critical parameters in Profinet will be displayed in the touchscreen, and you can take necessary action or suggestion from a Profinet expert to change the architecture or what we need to do to make the architecture better. So looking into the browser, no software is required for this device, and also no internet. It is a completely IP based device. And a key point for Profinet Inspector is it have a facility to store the data. Like for example, if you are having a 24 hours running plant, in the night shift your drives got immediate failures, but your plant manager is not available in the line, then inspector will store the data and understand what happened at which time. That is time stamping. You can understand at night 12 o'clock this drive got issue due to load ratio, due to jitter, due to some quality parameters. This kind of intelligence is inbuilt in Profinet Inspector. Here you can see in the right side, each device's net load chart is also available. So if you consider your architecture is not as per standard, then you can analyze and understand whether your net load ratio is consumed as per standard. And the new additional features for Profinet comes with a GSDML, so you can integrate to your semantic manager or DA portal, and you will get the complete alarms in the SCADA itself. And if you are using a Siemens OPC or any other OPC, you will get or Utthunga OPC itself, you can get the alarms integrated to the OPC server itself. So inspector in basically is used for acceptance certification, for the permanently monitoring and warning before failure. So these are the two devices what we mentioned here. One is the Profinet plan, that is for the designing, and this is for the certification and monitoring the network. Samir, can you go to this poll?
Yes, sure, sure. There is a question and there are some responses options. Please provide the responses.
Yeah, question is actually whether you have done acceptance certification in your network. As I mentioned, after commissioning your network, you have to take the acceptance certification. For example, if you have a electrical line or electrical any line, or if you consider a car itself, we need a quality test. Or if you consider the electrical plant or electrical facility, we need to do electrical audits. So we need to take certification or acceptance certification before starting the line. Then you will get the confidence whether your line is as per standard or it is maintained in a Profinet and Profibus guidelines. These guidelines and standard you can get from our PI website. You can get our standards, what are the standards need to be maintained.
Angad, the result is around 73% no, 0% yes. I am undertaking 29%, 30% one I would like to undertake.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your response. Then we will move to the next topic. That is mostly, I think most of people are waiting for this topic. So what is DSM? We just studied Profinet also enables asynchronous real time, right? So asynchronous real time works on less than 1 microsecond, or not less than 1 microsecond. It is works on the scalable real time. So it is kind of IRT. After IRT development, it came to the TSN. New TSN structure has been released on 2020 earlier for version 2.4. TSN has been released. So TSN is time sensitive network. So synchronization of all network participants with a jitter less than 1 microsecond. And what is the key advantage? You will get the high availability. And what is the second? If you consider Profinet over TSN enables to handle high-end real-time requirements. So if you consider very specific, time-specific projects or time-specific operations, then TSN can support you 100%. So in TSN itself, there is two options: OPC UA integrated with TSN and Profinet integrated with TSN. Profinet over TSN comes to the communication for the Profinet devices, but OPC over TSN comes to machine-machine integration. So complete package will give you a better real-time operation and real-time calculation in the MES layer. So prediction analysis IoT platforms will be more intelligent and more real-time. We can get a predictive data as well in the platform if you are enabling TSN. So these are the four block diagrams. So real-time capability, synchronized communication, low latency time, that means jitter is very low in the network, less than 1 microsecond, and redundancy. Redundancy also you can take it up. So these are the 4 points for the TSN: continuity, standard Ethernet technology, high determinism, and extremely robust. So if you look at the ISO layer, you can understand here TSN is a substructure in the Profinet network. So it will be not overcoming Profinet or something like that. It will be a substructure of Profinet network. So coming to continuity, like in continuity means actually Profinet has some proven profiles. Like if you see Profi Energy or Profi Safe, these profiles can be implemented along with TSN itself. So there will be no change. You can use same profiles. And as you all know, standard Ethernet technology. Profinet is using standard Ethernet technology. Since TSN is a substructure, it will be running in standard Ethernet technology itself. High determinism. High determinism means asynchronous real time. You can go for a less than 1 microsecond jitter rate as well. Like if you are having a very stringent time consuming operation, then TSN or Profinet is very easy to communicate. Then comes to the extremely robust. So if you consider stringent operation, that stringent operation will be having a different layer. So if you see here, earlier in the operation, IRT was having a different layer that can easily communicate directly to the Profinet devices. Similarly, TSN will be having a different layer that will synchronize and communicate with your nodes, which need to be in a time synchronized way or time sensitive operation. So these profiles has to be enabled. So newly updating Profinet nodes or Profinet devices will be enabled with TSN. Then you can start the operation with TSN as well in your network. What advantages already I mentioned, it will be a very back push for the MES layer, ERP layer, and real-time operations. Real-time operation in the continuous real-time synchronized way operation. Indersol is our partner, so we have released one of the switch 1 month before. This is TSN enabled. So what this switch is actually released according to the Profinet version 2.4 release, I think January or February. So this switch been released 10 to 15 days before. So what is the key advantage when TSN is coming into the switch? You can get the integrated diagnostics, and you can also get the cable testing in the switch itself. And one key advantage is you will get the EMC monitoring. Like for example, you can have a web browser along with the switch, and you will get the complete EMC readings in the switch available. Why TSN requires a TSN enabled switch? Then you may have that doubt, right? Because TSN enabled switch send data frames, and by finding a shorter path. Actually, TSN requires a very time sensitive information. So these TSN enabled switches will find a better shorter path to communicate very fastly. And you can see it is a conformance class B certified and net load class 3. Net load class 3 means, as I mentioned earlier, 20% net load is the standard that has to be maintained in the network. If your network is going above 20%, these switches can somehow sustain some loads in your network, and TSN enabled. So that is a brief about TSN and our Profinet technology. So Samir, I think we are into the end part right now. If anyone has any queries, we can discuss. If I am
Yeah. You can put your questions there in the Q&A section. Angad, there is a question called how RSTP is handled.
yeah,
How RSTP is handled. You can actually toggle back and you can look at Q&A directly. Okay.
okay, 1 minute. You can see my screen.
Yeah, just go to that Q&A section. Close this.
Okay, 1 minute.
Go to Q&A. Yeah.
Okay.
How RSTP is handled. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Actually, in some switches, if you see MRP protocol is enabled. If you see a managed switch, MRP protocol is enabled. So in that way, important configurations are recommended when using RSTP. And if you can see 1 minute. what cybersecurity precautions are enabled in the protocol. In the cybersecurity way, sir, actually Profinet is a completely closed protocol. If you can see, if you can, and if you are putting up TCP IP or any other protocol, your network will go for failure. And coming to the cybersecurity part, if you interfere any other hacking system or any system, that will be enabled in the upper layer itself. You will be having a cybersecurity software itself. So in that way, it will be blocked. So does Pronet plan has any simulation capability? So Pronet plan, what Pronet plan does is actually designing your network. If you want to, just now we studied about some standards, right? Update rate, line depth, and net load. These standards you can identify and rectify before planning, after during the planning stage itself. While manual planning, you cannot calculate and understand what is the bandwidth and what is the individual bandwidth. If you consider an HMI will be having a different bandwidth. So these bandwidth you can understand in the Pronet plan. And if you, since you are simulation, in the simulation capability is there. If you are crossing the bandwidth in the sense if you are crossing 20% of net load, then you will get an error in the Pronet plan architecture. So you have to rectify in the planning stage itself. Can you have TSN over Profinet with standard PLCs? Sir, TSN over Profinet with standard PLCs. Since right now, coming to India, even Profinet is not yet completely implemented. If you see the plans, they are just planning to implement Profinet. And looking into the TSN enabled PLCs, I'm not much aware. I need to explore it. I will come back with that. TSN enabled PLCs are available in the market, but TSN enabled if you see drives or if you see IO modules, TSN enabled are going to be released. If you see the switches, that is a Profinet version 2.4 that been released. Some customers use enterprise switches in Profinet network and claim it works fine. How do you educate the customer to use Profinet enabled switches? So Profinet enabled switches, how you to educate it? Most of the customers, if you see, they wait for the failure to get educated. So in the way, if you want to educate them, you need to showcase the capabilities of the switches and what is the advantage. Like if you see managed switches in the network, that will sustain this much load or 20% load. If for example they are putting a CCTV or HMI in the network, they will be having a lot of load, or they are having more than 60-70 nodes in the Profinet, then managed switches can sustain and what you can say, increase the lifetime of the network without any failure. What is GSD files? GSD is a GSD file. If you consider in automation, if you consider want to integrate any of the Profinet devices or Profinet nodes, GSD file is required because it contains the vendor ID, device profile, alarms, critical informations, or any diagnostic information. If you consider a flow meter or any temperature monitor, this temperature monitor has a particular name and particular vendor ID and as well as particular information. This will be loaded in GSD file. This GSD file has to be loaded using Semantic Manager or DI portal for a communication to your devices. What is the limit on line depth of tree topology? How many branches we can create max? So line depth is actually mentioned for the serial communication. Line depth is actually mentioned for the line topology. If you consider line topology, most of the plants, if you look in India, they will be not using switches much in the network due to the cost cutting. So they will go for a line topology, and after 30-40 devices, they will connect a switch. So these kind of architecture has to be maintained because line structure has a standard. If you consider 1 millisecond, only 7 devices, 2 millisecond, 14 devices. This will create delay in the network. Similarly, if you are considering a tree topology, and after tree topology you are increasing line in a serial line, that also increase the hope level in the architecture. Hope level should be as per standard for the update rate. Hope level already I mentioned, for if you see 2 millisecond 14, 1 millisecond 7, that we will share the details to you. There is any effect of electromagnetic field in Profinet network? Yes, sir, sure. There is an effect of electromagnetic field. That's why we have recommend to keep the high power consumption cables. Like if you consider a power cable of 230-volt that is going along with Profinet, then we don't recommend to keep it along with Profinet cables. That creates electromagnetic effects. And if you consider shielding is not done properly and wiring is done not properly in the Profinet connectors, this all may create to the issues, intermittent failures in the network. How many maximum network devices in ring topology allowed? That I am not aware, sir. I will get back to you with that. How many maximum devices? I don't think there is no constraint about that. If you consider the update rate, if you consider 1 millisecond update rate or 2 millisecond update rate, this device connectivity depends on the update rate. If you are considering a very stringent time consuming operation, then devices in the ring also will be very less, maximum 7 or 8, if you are considering a 1 millisecond update rate.
Angadh, we might have to close the webinar now. Time is up.
There is any standard format available for GSDML file? GSDML file you will get. For example, I already mentioned, if you are buying any vendor product, like even if you are buying a Vipa product or Siemens product, they will be providing a GSD file in their website. You will get the GSD file. Using that GSD file, you can start communicating and also use the complete parameters of Profinet. Is there any change in Profinet application layer with respect to wireless communication? So there is no change, sir. There is no change in application. That is just communicating. That is a different application for Profinet. There is no change. That is an application profile available in Profinet. Can TSN devices and Profinet devices work together? Yes, sir. That is why we have mentioned TSN is released with a continuity. So if you are using Profinet devices already, you can buy some TSN enabled switches, or if you can also buy TSN enabled devices in the network. That can give you time sensitive operation in the plant. Yeah, YouTube recording we will share. Samir will share the YouTube recording, whatever recording to the YouTube. So we will share the details. Thank you for joining our webinar section, Samir.
Yeah, thank you for joining, everyone. We are now closing the webinar. It's already 5 o'clock. So, any unanswered questions, we will send you the answers by mail.
Yeah.
The link to this presentation and also the recorded webinar will be sent to you by mail. Just after this webinar ends, we will send you a feedback form. Please care to fill that form. It will help us to improve our webinars. In the upcoming webinars, we can better ourselves. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.